Hello, I hope you're having a good day. Today we'll be watching the movie titled Battle of Pandora. In a distant future, 3 astronauts make a major discovery that could change everything when they return to Earth. Greg, who leads the mission, is shocked when they find water on Pandora, one of Saturn's moons. Sophie and Kyle agree that the next step is to collect a sample and return to Earth. Kyle steps into the water first and shouts that it's freezing. He puts both legs in and begins analyzing it using an artificial intelligence tool. The tool reads the normal properties of the water, including its pH value. While this happens, Sophie also enters the water alongside Kyle. Greg, standing with his back to the water, hears Kyle say he has found something strange. Greg asks what seems odd to him, but Kyle doesn't respond. Then Greg checks on Kyle, but he appears disoriented. Greg asks Sophie if she saw what happened. Sophie, standing nearby, says Kyle was right beside her, and she has no idea where he is now. Greg tells Sophie to get out of the water immediately, but she is suddenly pulled down to the bottom. Greg rushes to help her, but she disappears beneath the surface. Suddenly, a huge mass of water rises and tries to pull him in as well. Realizing he can't save his teammates, Greg runs back to the spaceship with the water chasing him. Later, Greg manages to reach the ship and sends a distress signal to Earth, providing his location and requesting help. While he transmits the message, the ship begins shaking violently, making it hard for him to concentrate. Despite the chaos, the message reaches Earth, but Greg's fate remains uncertain. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Doreen calls a meeting with Jennifer and Cliff, a married couple, along with Colonel William, who is aware of the situation. Doreen thanks them for coming on short notice, but tells them there's no time for formalities. She then informs them about the distress call from the spacecraft on Pandora, and explains that contact was lost with the crew after Greg sent the help signal. Doreen reveals that a rescue mission to Pandora will be organized, as the team has been missing since Greg's last transmission. She explains that William will oversee the rescue unit from Earth at Space Force Command. Jennifer and Cliff will provide emergency medical support if needed. The team will be escorted by a commander named Hank, who will pilot the rescue ship Remolque, the medical rescue vessel. Jennifer hesitates because Hank was once arrested for shooting down a Chinese military aircraft. However, William assures her that Hank possesses skills that few pilots have. Jennifer and Cliff focus on the mission and ask how they plan to rescue the team, since travel to Pandora normally takes months. Doreen and Colonel William explain that they'll travel through a system called a wormhole, which will reduce the travel time from months to just a few minutes. However, the wormhole will remain open for only 10 hours before closing. After that, it will stay closed for 6 months, leaving them with a 10-hour window to complete the rescue. Upon learning that Greg was leading the Pandora mission, Jennifer becomes uneasy. When she hears his name in front of her husband Cliff, he realizes that Greg is the same co-worker Jennifer once dated. Doreen asks if this will be a problem, and Jennifer responds with an awkward smile that it won't be. Doreen asks again to be sure, and Cliff becomes curious when he hears Greg's name. Jennifer tells Cliff that what happened is in the past, and then asks Doreen how she knows all this. Doreen dodges the question and informs them that Greg's main mission was to find a water supply on Pandora. She also warns them that they may face deadly bacteria and unknown organisms. After learning this, Jennifer insists she must go to Pandora, as several hours may have passed since the possible infection. William agrees and suggests that both Jennifer and Cliff travel to perform the necessary medical evaluations in time. The couple agrees after receiving all the information. Commander Hank warns them that the trip will get difficult as they approach the wormhole and tells everyone to stay alert. Then, the ship enters the wormhole, and just as Hank predicted, the pressure inside the vessel rapidly increases due to external forces. Suddenly, the ship's system issues a warning indicating that some of its parts have been damaged by the pressure. Cliff immediately gets up from his seat and starts making quick adjustments, aware that their lives are at risk if the pressure continues to rise. The team assists him, and by working together, they manage to stabilize the pressure just before the situation spirals out of control. After the incident, the commander, who had previously argued with Cliff, is impressed by his quick thinking and congratulates him. Jennifer also receives praise for her professionalism. Once the ship exits the wormhole and arrives at Pandora, the entire team is mesmerized by the beauty of the moon. Cliff explains how it was discovered, but he and Colonel William soon argue over how to land the ship. Cliff insists that the surface of Pandora is unstable according to his previous research, but William interrupts, saying it's his responsibility to handle the landing. Just as he claimed, he successfully lands the ship near the coordinates where Greg sent the distress signal. The team disembarks after Jennifer and William confirm the ship is stable enough to bring them back to Earth, even in its damaged state. Once outside, wearing full spacesuits, they begin the search for the missing ship Cassini. As they explore, Hank explains how the sunlight affects Pandora, causing drastic changes from dark to light in a matter of minutes. As they move forward, a team member shouts to get everyone's attention. Jennifer sees the Cassini and remarks that it looks strange, almost as if it had been underwater for years. Another crew member points out that this is impossible, since there's no water nearby. However, just as he says this, a huge mass of water appears beside them, making the landscape resemble Earth. As they try to understand what's happening, the water molecules begin to fuse and form a tall, rod-shaped structure in front of them, as if it were alive. The military squad, armed with advanced technology, opens fire on the aquatic creature, but the shots have no effect at all. Suddenly, the engine of the Cassini ignites and the ship starts moving back toward the main vessel. Hank, closely watching the situation, notices another ship approaching and becomes alarmed. Hank orders his AI to scan the vessel. The AI detects no life signs and concludes it is either empty or uninhabitable. Hank commands it to be destroyed, and the AI instantly obliterates it. Meanwhile, Jennifer finds bodies near the water. She runs to check and discovers they are Sophie and Kyle. When they believe they're dead, Sophie gasps and Kyle starts breathing. At that moment, a man approaches with his hands up. Jennifer recognizes him. It's Greg. Confused, he says he doesn't remember anything. Jennifer tries to bring Sophie and Kyle back to the ship, but William opposes due to the risk of contamination. Jennifer insists on diagnosing them, and after a tense argument, William gives in. As she takes them aboard, Hank receives a call from Doreen, furious about the destruction of the ship. She demands an explanation and orders that no one be allowed in until they are certain there's no contamination. She warns that if the ship is compromised, the government will bomb it. Jennifer and Cliff assist the Cassini crew, who say they don't remember what happened. As the military team surveys the area, they are attacked again. A soldier is dragged into the water and hurled into the air. Realizing the danger, they decide to retreat. Jennifer places Kyle on a heating table with oxygen and examines the others. Soon they notice interference in the systems. Suddenly, Greg removes his mask, followed by Sophie, who refuses to wait to be infected. Jennifer also removes hers and orders all equipment to be decontaminated. She asks Sophie and Greg how they feel. Both say they're fine. Jennifer heads to the control room where the commander demands a medical report before allowing them to return. When she comes back, she notices Kyle is sweating and discovers Cliff increased the table's temperature. She scolds him, but Kyle suddenly sits up, vomits water, and collapses. Jennifer orders Greg and Sophie to be quarantined, but Sophie refuses, grabs a gun, and demands to be left alone. At that moment, the military squad returns from their failed attempt to destroy the creature and, seeing her armed, orders her to surrender. Suddenly, Sophie vomits in front of William, who immediately shows signs of infection. He is quickly placed in quarantine. Greg insists he is not infected since he was never in contact with the water, and the team leaves him out of quarantine. Jennifer concludes that the saline solution she gave Kyle triggered the reaction. Soon after, she informs Hank that there might be a parasite in Pandora's water. Hank warns that the wormhole will close in 2 hours and they must find a cure before getting trapped. While working on the solution, The water creature studies the ship and starts mimicking its shape. Suddenly, it attacks the vessel, but Hank destroys its copies. Pandora grows enormous tentacles that rise from the water. Hank warns that if they don't solve the problem soon, he will shut down the wormhole. The creature violently shakes the ship, trying to break in. Jennifer suggests using motor oil to repel the water and protect the vessel. They follow her plan, and as expected, the creature stops attacking. Then, Jennifer attempts to decontaminate the crew by altering their pH with salt. To test her theory, she injects the fluids intravenously, but suddenly weakens and collapses. Greg confesses he switched the fluids with infected water and that Jennifer is now one of them. At that moment, 2 soldiers covering the ship in oil subdue Greg and lock him up with William. Cliff administers an injection to Jennifer and the rest of the infected as a last resort. Fortunately, it works, and everyone recovers. The team prepares to depart, but the water creature envelops Pandora and attacks them. Jennifer orders the engine to be shut down and restarted with a gas mixture, successfully escaping. However, part of the creature enters the ship. The government, fearing the spread, launches a nuclear bomb. During the fight, the creature drags a crew member into the engine. Eventually, the team uses nitrogen to freeze it, and the AI confirms the ship is parasite-free. They exit the wormhole and land on Earth, crashing into water. Worried about a possible reinfection, Jennifer and Cliff reassure them. They've landed in the Dead Sea, where the high salinity will prevent the parasite from surviving. I hope you enjoyed the video.